Hi, Camille from Camille'sPrimaryIdeas.com. Today I wanted to discuss the topic of teaching a primary song. I know this sounds really basic, it's a very basic concept in theory, but it's a question I'm asked a lot and I see it a lot on the various singing time forums. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how I go about teaching a primary song in primary and kind of the method that I use and what I found to work best for me. And I don't have one set method per se, because I really feel variety is the best way to keep kids engaged and you yourself from getting bored and burned out from this calling. But I do kind of have a structure that I like to use and implement when I come up with singing time plans and when I teach a song. So I just kind of wanted to briefly discuss all of that. And I did want to let you know that the printables that I'll be using up here on the board are available on my website, so you can download them if you're ever in charge of either teaching a stake music workshop or something like that, so you can help others get this information too. Okay, so I've got four items that I'd like to discuss that they're kind of my steps that I involve in teaching a primary song. And I just thought it would be faster to type them all up rather than writing it all on the board. And I don't prefer my handwriting. So I'm just going to delve right into this. So how to teach a primary song. The first one is you. And I will go into detail in just a minute on all of these. So this is my first step. You. You're almost the most important thing in singing time. The second one that I wanted to implement is the attention getter. So I'll always, when I'm teaching a primary song, I will always include an attention getter. So it's a very critical step in teaching. The next thing is my repeat activity. And this is where you're going to come up with lots of variety, lots. And then the last one is bear testimony. Okay, so looks simple enough. So I just wanted to go into detail about all of these items. So how are you the most important step in teaching a primary song? I just had a couple of thoughts. You need to know the song. You can't teach what you don't know. So if you're unfamiliar with primary songs, you need to somehow find a way to learn them. I would say if you're unfamiliar with the primary songs in the songbook, stay with this primary songbook. I feel that they're easier than songs that are not, even the ones that are found in the Friend. And I think the kids are more familiar with those, and you will be more familiar with those, even if you're not familiar. Doesn't make quite sense, but it does. So you need to know the song, and they're easy to access. So they're all over. You can download them from the church's website. Anyway, they're easy to access. So I would suggest you need to know the song. You can't teach something you don't know. Play them in your car while you're driving, doing carpool. Play them while you're doing dishes. You just have it on your phone. Fall to sleep. So you need to know the song. I can't stress that enough. It's like a primary teacher going into her class and not having read the lesson. You need to know this. You need to know your material, what you're going to teach. So enough said. You need to know the song. Don't skip this critical step, because you know the teachers that are up there fumbling with their book, they're off. It's usually if the teacher is off, the kids are off, and you just can't teach something you don't know. Okay, so the next one, sing confidently. I didn't say sing well. I know a lot of us come into this calling and we're not musical. I personally don't have any formal music training. I just have kind of come to love it. But I think I sing pretty confidently. The kids will mimic how you sing. So if you're standing there timidly with a book in your hand, the little book, and you're just waving your arms, that's how the kids will see that and just mimic what they see. They're little sponges. So if you're standing up there confidently and boldly, they will too. And even if they don't know what they're saying, they like to mimic. They love to emulate what they see. So sing confidently. And if you have trouble, I try singing in the mirror. I even practice for your family. You don't have to sing solos. Just make sure you don't sing solos. I think that helps a lot. I like to always involve the teachers to help me sing, because I'd rather have them singing with me than staring at me. and they'll help you. You could even have them come up front with you if you really are really awkward about standing alone singing. But I think the more confident you are, the more confident the kids will be, and then the more confident you will be because you'll have more people singing with you. So anyway, sing confidently. The next one is to have fun. And I don't mean like have lots of fun in primary, like rowdy, but you need to be enjoying yourself. If you come every week and you're stressed out and there's a feeling in your attitude that you don't want to be there, the kids, like I said, will emulate what they see. So if you're up there just having fun in singing time, the children will too. It's amazing the spirit that you bring into singing time. It's almost like the same spirit that a mom provides in the home. You know when mom is mad, because everyone can feel it. It's the same thing in singing time. If you're there to have a great time interacting with the kids and teaching them the gospel, they'll emulate that, and they'll just reflect that spirit that you bring into it. So have fun and try and love this calling. I know it can be hard some days. There's good and bad days, but for the most part, try and make it a good day. Okay, and then the last one is demonstrate when you feel the spirit. And this is really kind of an important step. Like if you start to feel emotional during your lesson, I really like to stop and be like, wow, I'm crying. I'm feeling the spirit. So the kids start to recognize that you're not sad, but you're actually feeling the spirit. Or maybe you're not a crier. Maybe sometimes I get goosebumps, and so, oh, did you feel that? I've got goosebumps. Look at and show them your goosebumps. I think maybe there's different ways that people recognize the spirit, and if you can verbalize that to the children, they're more likely to understand the feelings and emotions that they're feeling if they have someone telling them what they are feeling. Anyway, so that's what I want to talk about you. This can be a really hard section for primary music leaders, especially if you're very uncomfortable, if you're an introvert, or you feel like you're not musical. This can be really hard and might be what you're mostly struggling with. So give it time too. If you're new to this calling, 3 months. New to anything. If you're new to anything, give it 3 months before you're actually got a groove, and you don't throw in the towel, at least for 3 months. Give it a shot. But you are your best resource when it comes to teaching a primary song. You can just come in with just yourself, nothing else, no props, nothing, and still have a fantastic singing time lesson plan if you follow all of these steps, I personally believe. Okay, so say you've gone to this, you know the song, you're confident, you have fun, you demonstrate when you feel the spirit. Let's move on. So how do you actually teach that song? Most of them are non-readers. I can't just like throw the words at them, and they don't read notes. So what are they going to do? All right, so we're going to start out with our song. Every song is going to have an attention getter, and there's 2 purposes for the attention getter. And the attention getter is going to introduce the meaning, and it's also going to introduce the melody. So the meaning, this is where the gospel message behind the song can be introduced. It doesn't have to be a long, elaborate verbal like lesson, but something that quickly introduces the meaning behind the song. If you scroll through all of my lesson plans, I usually have an attention getter, and they're all different. Sometimes I read a story. I really have loved the stories from the Friend magazines in the junior section. A lot of times they demonstrate the message of the song that we're trying to teach for the month. And it's really quick, it's short, it's got pictures. Sometimes if I'm doing actions, well, that's more the melody. I'll go into that in just a second. So the meaning, more meaning. I'm trying to think of more ideas of how we introduce the meaning. Sometimes they'll have the kids listen to the song on a CD, and all pictures, gospel art book pictures. I mean, it really doesn't have to be very elaborate. You can read the scripture associated with the song that's printed on the bottom of the songbook. Anyway, there's tons of ideas. I won't go through all of them here, but so if you want specific ones, you want to go to my website on my lesson plans, and you can click almost any of the songs, and most of them will have an attention getter. And sometimes they're combined, so the meaning and the melody, you don't really need to go in a lot of discussion about the meaning, because sometimes the meaning is discovered here during the repeat activity on their own, and they're able to feel the spirit and come to. But I do like to introduce the meaning somehow. Okay, so the next one is the melody. So since we have non-music readers for the most part in primary, they're not just going to start singing a song they've never heard before. So we somehow want to find a way for them to listen, and sometimes you can do that with playing the song. I really like the Sing-Along app with the little bouncing ball that has the words and has pictures, so they're able to listen and see, and they can even sing along if they can read. I do also actions, I was going to say, with the melody. If I'm introducing actions, I'll just come and demonstrate the actions. So here they are listening, they're watching, they've heard it, and then they're able to mimic that. So that's always a great way to introduce the melody. Or sometimes you can ask questions that have them listen for certain things. I want you to listen to the song as I sing it, or as me and the teacher sing it, and see when you hear the answer and raise your hand as soon as you answer. So then they're again listening, the even meaning, that brings in the meaning and the melody all at the same time. So after they've kind of listened to it a few times, they'll be more comfortable in singing it. They're not going to sing something they've never heard. You can't just walk in and throw a flip chart in their face with the piano and expect them to sing. It's not going to be very effective. So, attention getter. You always want a good attention getter will fulfill these two things: introduce the meaning and introduce the melody. Okay? So, say you've introduced the melody and the meaning you've quickly gone over. I mean, it doesn't have to take very long, less than 5 minutes. You know, don't spend a lot of time here. I think the meat of our lesson needs to be coming in the repeat activity, and this is where kids are singing. They're singing and singing and singing and singing and singing. That's where the most fun is going to be. But if you don't have a good activity, the repeat activity, they're going to be bored and you're going to lose them. So you want a repeat activity, something that gets them singing the same monotonous song over and over and over again, maybe for 10, 15 minutes without them realizing it. So that's really why I like bells. Everyone wants a turn with those bells. So you can go over and over a song with the bells. Actions, same thing. We're learning actions, and you can Q&A, you know, what action goes with this word? And I mean, there's so many options with repeat activities. Scarves, different props. I really like having the wands. I don't have them here with me. The wands, and you can put pictures on the front and on the back and on the side, and as you sing the song, they're going to point with their wand and they're going to turn their bodies. And we're providing movement. The little kids, they need movement, and if their hands are moving, they're usually pretty good about being engaged. The big kids, it's more their minds. They need to be engaged. Sister Pat Graham, she always says a disruptive child, how does she say it? Sorry, a bored child is a disruptive child. So if you can keep them engaged in some repeat activity, they'll be good for you. With the bigger kids, so little kids, they need their hands, usually need to have their hands do something. With bigger kids, they need their minds. I really like word scrambles, the melody maps, I have all these suggestions linked throughout my website on my lesson plans. The older kids can get a little more tricky because, you know, sometimes the actions and bells, they get a little bored with it. But for the most part, I really think they don't mind it either. As long as they're being challenged. So if you can provide or even like with the older kids, have them come up with actions, you know, it gets them thinking, or have them teach the lesson, you know, give them an opportunity to do some sort of teaching with the song. Anyway, there's endless options. I like to keep this open. I don't have a set method for teaching because you need variety. If you have the same redundant every single week, the kids are just going to get really bored, and you're going to get bored, and a bored child is a disruptive child. Okay, so I would say if you're spending 5 minutes here on your attention getter, 10 minutes here ish, 10 to 15, and then 1 maybe 1 minute on the testimony, and it's bare testimony. And what I have here is testify that you know what you're teaching to be true and relate it back to the Savior. Because we're not teaching music, we're teaching the gospel through music. So we always want to end with your testimony. This is always an opportunity for you to bring in the Spirit. It doesn't have to take long, less than a minute. Anyway, and then there was a final option, I guess I want to call it, when you're teaching a primary song, and that's involve the Lord. Don't feel bad about pouring out your soul and your heart to Heavenly Father when you're struggling, because we've all been there. He'll help you and He'll guide you. He'll tell you what your kids need to know, what they need to be doing for your lesson plans. I can't tell how many times Heavenly Father has guided me in something that I was planning, and He had something else in mind, and His way is always the better way. Anyway, so I hope that really, maybe it's too general, broad, but this is always the format that I use when I'm coming up with lesson plans. And I have noticed in my repeat activities, the more I've done this, my activities tend to be, I like group activities that everyone can come together and we can do at the same time, rather than having one child go up, do something while everybody sits and waits. I've noticed in my own lesson planning that I prefer to have the group activities that everyone can participate at the same time, so we don't have children sitting there being disruptive while we're trying to do something with one child, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that helped. If you have any questions, always let me know. But if you're ever struggling with how to teach a primary song, come to this, and I really think it will help you. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, again, let me know, and that's all I've got for today. Thanks.